Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. We got Ace here in the office again because I couldn't figure out a really good Super Sentai representative for this again, so I was like, hey Ace, you're putting in some more hours. So anyway, we're at my review. I look really red in this for some reason, I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway, this has nothing to do with Super Sentai Battle, but now it does. So we have our review for Super Sentai Battle Episode 2. I thought this was another strong entry. Again, I'm really pleasantly surprised by this. Not as if I thought this was going to be terrible, again, but I just am surprised by how good it is. So we pick up where we left off, where Guy Zorg, also known as Camisolg, interrupts the last battle we had with Sasori Orange and Akaninja. Marvelous rushed in. He immediately gets his Ranger Key handed back to him, and is taken down by Guy Zorg. To be fair, he didn't transform. And then Akaninja Takaharu steps in front of an attack for him, and Marvelous is not too happy about that. They kind of convene about, you know, what just happened, and everyone's kind of upset at Marvelous for the way he acted and all that stuff, and Takaharu, like, reminds him of back when they met during Zyuohger and, like, how, you know, I know you're not this jerk. That's probably one of my only nitpicks about this. Not that they brought that up. I thought that was really cool. There's actually several callbacks in this episode, which I'll get to, but I really like that they brought up the Zyuohger crossover. But I just, like, I feel like every time we see Marvelous, we have the same little character arc. Like, his whole thing in Gokaiger, most of the Gokaigers was like, you know, oh, we're just pirates, we don't care about anybody. But then, of course, they do, like Pirates with a Heart of Gold. But then I feel like every subsequent appearance has some version of that for Marvelous specifically, and I'm just kind of tired of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the fact that Marvelous is kind of a jerk just because it's nice to go against that goody-goody Sentai grain we often get, but anyway, so then there's kind of like a little disbursement of stories. Marvelous kind of goes off to contemplate and to pout, and he has a little flashback of the Go Rangers giving him the key and telling about, you know, gather the Super Sentai powers. And then Takaharu shows up and tries to cheer him up, and Kagura shows up as well, and it's a nice little scene. Like, Takaharu actually hasn't annoyed me as much in this. I think that the actor's doing a better job at being a little bit funnier. Like, it always felt like he was supposed to be that overly energetic Red, but he was always restrained. Like, the way he shouted, it was like just not full. I don't know, it was weird. But he felt just a little bit better in this. Like, there was a nice scene where he was talking about his team, and Marvelous, like, then thought back on his team, and it was just kind of a nice interaction between them. And then Stinger was off trying to contact somebody on his morpher, and then when he couldn't get a signal, he kind of goes to investigate, like, you know, why the signal's being blocked, which we basically get to near the end of the episode. And then because everybody went off to go do stuff and bond and check out signals, Yamato is left alone for the next matchup, which is supposed to be 3-on-3, but it ends up being Yamato versus other three, and we have Galred, Volshark, and then Ginga Green? Do they call him Ginga Green? I sometimes forget, but he's fighting them by themselves, and he's losing, but then he talks about, like, what his wish was, which last week we saw that he fought Keiichiro, and whatever Yamato's wish was made Keiichiro concede, and it turns out, like, he met this young kid in the hospital who basically wanted to see the animals in the wilderness, but then he died of whatever disease he had before it could happen. So Yamato basically wants to resurrect this kid, if only for a minute, just so that he can see the wilderness. Like, it's a really nice wish in the spirit of Sentai. In the first moment before I knew that the kid wasn't there anymore, I was like, well, couldn't he just take the kid to the wilderness without wasting the wish? And to get dark, I mean, is that really better than world peace? Like, no more conflict ever? Like, because, like, especially last week, they were like, oh yeah, we can totally just achieve world peace. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of funny. But, like, it is a nice moment for Yamato's character. I feel like he's almost the central character in this, kind of representing the core values of Sentai, especially in this special. And then he ends up actually winning. He pulls out his transformations of Gorilla and Whale. I was super stoked about that because when he was losing, I'm like, bruh, you got like 2 more Ranger powers. I want to see that Jewel Whale suit. I love it. And so he did win, and then there was a nice moment between him and Gal Red about, like, basically, again, the values of Sentai. There's a nice moment where he says, like, as Reds, we almost have it easier, because all we have to do is believe in everyone. Just believe! I don't know. I thought it was a nice moment. It made sense for those two characters to have a sort of similar interaction, and that's something I just really like, is the interactions between the characters going on there. And the others end up watching from the base. Like, it's funny that they showed up. I honestly expected them to see it on the monitor and be like, ah, chiz, we gotta get over there, and then help help him, but then Yamato just won on his own, so he just kind of, you know, finished that on his own. We got to see a couple other the little battles too, as usual, just kind of cutting to them a little bit. There was a bit about Rita believing, like, oh, all yellows from this period really liked curry, but then Raita corrects her. I don't know how correct that joke is because I've only seen Jetman, and I mean, I guess I remember Raita didn't like curry. I just remember the tomato episode. And speaking of Rita, she was definitely more sketch in this episode. Like, earlier on, she just was kind of sitting back, and the way she was acting and speaking, she definitely seemed sketch. Like, last episode, I figured she might be innocent in all this, like, just the organizer or whatever, and something else is nefarious, but she's definitely got something going on, whether it's specifically tied to Geizorg or not. At the moment, that seems independent because he, like, showed up with the invitation and stuff, so they seem like two separate things. Whatever's sketchy going on with this tournament versus Geizorg's storyline seem to be independent, like I said. Stinger eventually finds, like, this big magical source, mystic force, that is blocking their communications, and he finds the Super Sentai visual history that they've been studying up on. Takaharu, after leaving the pep talk from Marvelous, there we go, gets attacked by Geizorg after he sees him taking his helmet off. And then we basically, the two ending scenes of the episode are Geizorg interrupting yet another match. And Marvelous, of course, rushes off to it. He transforms this time, fights him a bit, does some Gokai changes, which leads to Geizorg's helmet coming off. And it's revealed to be Takaharu. So that kind of insinuates that it's some sort of either cursed armor or a sentient armor, at least what I'm going to say. Kind of similar to, like, Dogold. There was a similar-ish story in Abba Ranger with the armor. Like, if this is a storyline in Ryusoulger with an armor that's either a character in and of itself or a cursed armor, that would very much so line up with them doing elements from previous Dino series. But so that was kind of a cool little twist. And then at the end you have black and green Ryusoulgers showing off the Ryusoulger toys, and they're like, hey look, here's this super exclusive one, but it's not the one we're looking for. Like, it's a really obvious, like, merchandise hype train for Ryusoulger. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I've been pleasantly surprised. I mentioned this last week. I thought this very easily could have just been some shallow fights, maybe a few little funny bits, some entertaining stuff. But it's really been a lot better than I expected. They've had some really solid character moments, which feel like really in character, like the people writing this know the characters. Good character interactions, like ones that it's nice to see the different personalities and backgrounds, you know, come out between the two, but also see how different personalities mix with each other. Like, I liked the scene with Takaharu and Marvelous and Kagura, and I really liked the scene with Galred and Duo Eagle. I thought that was a really nice scene. So, like, I'm just really surprised about how good those scenes are. And on top of that, I am interested in the plot that's going on. Like, I'm curious, you know, what's going on with the Geizorg armor, who's behind the tournament, like how it will lead into Ryusoulger. Like, obviously this is being used as a tease-in for Ryusoulger, but like how elements that we find out about in this, that sentence was weird, sorry, but like how elements from this end up coming into the series. Like, I'm kind of curious if we'll reference this at all in Ryusoulger, kind of like how in Gokaiger they traveled back to when Goseiger versus Shinkenger happened. Like, that's kind of a weird example, but you know what I mean, like where we might get a reference to it, or whether it's just kind of being used to tee up things, because like the concept of the armor I could very well see being used, but we'll have to see. But yeah, overall I thought this was really great. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really looking forward to the next 2 weeks. As I said last week too, I would not be mad if this became an annual thing. I would overall give it another 8, very solid and enjoyable. If you're a Sentai fan and have at least seen a handful of series, I definitely recommend checking this out. But anyway, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, everybody, to Quipkey. And, you know, climb the steps and ring that bell to notifications for all my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.